talking about what makes you successful in life, relationships, and business. It's Jump, Pivot, and Roll with Shannon Stiles and Rachel Murphy.
Welcome to Jump, Pivot, and Roll. I am so excited to share with you guys today our special guest. So first, let me introduce myself. I'm Rachel Murphy.
And I'm Shannon Stiles.
And today with us is Dr. Devin.
Hello, everybody. Thank you guys for having me.
You know, I'm really excited to have you here also because I have been I've been doing some Facebook and cyber stalking of you. And I love your vibe. I love your energy. I love all of the information that you put out there, the ABCs you're doing.
Hey,
that is awesome.
That's awesome. Big things easy and simple to digest.
I agree. So I think what, you're just the whole package. And I mean, everything. You've got the looks, you've got the brain, you've got common sense, you just
She's
all of it, right?
She's a mom of 5, 2 sets of twins. Like, what does God think when he gives you 2 sets of twins?
Well, clearly you have patience.
And he's got a sense of humor. Yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
So we just, usually we talk a lot, but I really want to just open the floor to you and kind of take us down and take us through your journey.
Yeah. I mean, I love that question, and it's so where do you start? So for me, I'm from the Wichita area. I was born in Iowa, but from here, and went to Andale. Always had big vision, little crazy, dreamer. Gonna change the world has always kind of been my heartbeat, and I went off to KU, diehard KU my whole life. Got there and went, maybe I'm more country than I thought, and pulled an audible, went to K-State, and loved it.
Woohoo!
Right? Go State.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, so I got the best of both of those experiences, and as I was coming into my last year of college, I got pregnant, and life went, and everything I thought I knew flipped. And the best thing that ever happened to me, Mr. Roman Maddox came into my life, and he gifted me everything. And so I was pre-med, pre-dentistry. I knew I wanted to help people, and I got really close to graduation and went, I don't like drugs. I mean, I'm the girl that, like, even when I was a kid and my parents would give me vitamins, I would hide them in a shoebox because I didn't like taking pills, and I don't like the way, like, substances, I guess, made me feel disconnected, and I didn't like that. So I was like, I don't really like drugs, and I don't like blood. I'm ready to take the MCAT, but I don't really want to go to med school. So maybe dentistry. Maybe that's what I'll do. And then I shadowed a dentist. Nope, not for me.
That's worse, I think.
So right, and then panicking, and I'm looking at this beautiful boy. I'm single mom, and I'm promised him heart and soul, like, it's you and me, man. We're gonna make the most of this life. Where do I go? And I was bartending at the time, and I waited on a chiropractor. And I honestly, I didn't know his name, but he bought the ticket. He took care of the tab for this whole big group. And I was like, I want to be able to do that. I mean, at that time, I just wanted to be able to pay any bills,
Right.
And so to see this, like, vibrant group of people that seemed to, like, generate their energy off of this guy, I was like, what do you do? I'm a chiropractor. Okay, well, where'd you go to school? And he said, Cleveland. So middle of the night, what am I going to do with my life? Terror with this little boy. I look up Cleveland Chiropractic. They had a discovery day the next week. So I went, and I sat down. I can feel that day where the president of the college said, the power that made the body heals the body. And I was like, I call right? Right? I mean,
yes.
I still get goosebumps. And I called my mom, and I was like, Mom, I'm going to be a chiropractor. And she was like, you've never been to one. And I was like, no, I know, but this is what I've meant. These are my people. And I've fallen in love with that. Acupuncture found me the same way. Met my husband in school. He's a chiropractor. We came back to Wichita. Now we have 5 kids. We do have 2 sets of twins. And then Roman is a sophomore at Goddard. And now my brother And my sister-in-law just opened a chiropractic practice in South Carolina. My sister just opened a chiropractic practice next door to me. So from no chiropractors in the family to a family of chiropractors.
That's awesome.
That's the short version, I guess, of my story.
How amazing.
It's been a lot of fun.
So tell me, you mentioned that when you first did this, you became a mother, single mother.
Yeah.
When you were in college.
Yeah.
How did you maneuver through that?
Oh, yeah. So, you go through all the feels. I mean, it was my high school sweetheart, and we both went, oh, God, literally, what do we do now? And I'm really grateful for families that supported us through that time. And I was at K-State, and I came home, and I took my grandparents to coffee at Starbucks because my parents, we went through our feels as I said, guess what? We're going to zig instead of zag. And my mom was like, you're going to have to tell your grandparents because they've always been huge mentors of mine. And so I was like, well, we're going to do that in a public place. So I took them to Starbucks, and my grandpa looked at me, and he was like, well, what's your plan? And I said, well, I think I'm going to move home to WSU and just finish here and get a job and, just slow things down. And I will just never forget. He put his hand on the table very firm, and he said, oh, no, ma'am, you finish what you start. And you go back up there and you get back on the saddle and you finish. And I'll start crying because it was that moment where it shook me back into who I was. And it changed everything because if I would have come home, I have no idea what would have happened. But I went back up and, Roman had a really rough birth. And so knowing what I know now, I can see it differently. But in the moment, like he would hold his breath, he would pass out, he would turn blue, he didn't sleep well. So I moved back up to K-State by myself, 1-bedroom apartment. I had to take a lot of online classes, but it just creates this grit, right? And that in my heart, knowing, okay, I've got a family who supports me and who really believes in me, and a grandpa that said, girl, you finish it. And, he just looked me in my eyes and said, life's about something bigger now, and you owe it to this baby. And so, that just became the way. And
kudos to him because,
yes,
if you think about it, that was a life-changing moment.
Oh, one moment.
Yeah. Everything
shifted because I had it all planned out. I was already taking a summer course at Wichita State. I was in the process. It would have. It's one of the, they say the butterfly effect, right? Like one thing and everything shifts. That one thing was a big, big thing. So
that's incredible. You're right. When you have family support and they believe in you, what a game changer for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been very, very blessed at every step of my life.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And so at some point, you and your husband had a practice together.
Yeah.
And you decided to go separate ways.
Yeah.
Not separate ways, separate ways within the practice.
Right.
Yes.
Professionally. Yes. Yeah. We graduated in August of 2010, and I knew I wanted more babies, and I was like, well, let's do this early because I had big aspirations for my career. But I was like, I'm never going to be less busy, right? So I was like, please, please, please. So we're getting our practice going in Goddard. He wanted to be a small town doc. And, I actually interviewed here in Wichita with other doctors because I didn't think, maybe we shouldn't practice together. But it didn't make sense to open two. Ultimately, we decided to open in Goddard together. I'm so glad that we did. And because I got pregnant right away with a set of twins, which is a crazy story in and of itself. And he, was able to give me a pregnancy and maternity leave that once I came back and got full throttle, it was like, okay, there's not room for two alphas around here, and we want to be married forever. So let's see. And we had always said we were going to do it. I took a drive down Kellogg and saw those Old West buildings at Tyler and Kellogg, and I said, it's time. Let's do this. And we,
And you guys seem like just the most incredible team. Like, I just love just watching the things that you do on Facebook. Like, Shannon, I've stalked you a little bit. I got to meet you. But I just love the energy that you guys feed to each other. And not only each other, your kids. Your kids, girl, amazing. Like, I just love they're just so complete. They're complete human beings. And I think that we don't see that a lot in young people. And that has to be the way you guys are raising them.
Yeah, I mean, we love really hard in our family.
Yeah.
And in our marriage. And that comes with all the feels and some highs and some lows in and of itself. But we love really hard. And my husband lost his dad in chiropractic school and to cancer. It was horrific. And then a few years ago, I lost my uncle, my best friend, and then shortly thereafter, my mom. And we've just been through a lot.
Wow.
And so what people see, I think, on the outside looks like, oh, they just got it all together. And it's because we've been shattered, and been through a lot. And he's just my best friend. So we like to play.
That's
nice.
awesome. That's
So,
really nice.
We can tell just by listening to you that a part of your success has been the support that you've had. Mm-hmm. But what else would you attribute your success to?
Yeah, I mean, the tough times. Generally, I would say that the absolute best things that have happened, like being, like Roman, that was, it was the tough stuff. Like my mom's passing. But yeah, I've been given lots of opportunities to grow through heartache, and it's knowing that I'm supported by people here, but also those things have had me have to reconcile my relationship with God and trust there, where I think as a kid I was, very rebellious against that big almighty power, and my kids and my mom's passing brought me so close to God that it's like, wow, life is so precious, and I'm divinely supported, and so I don't know.
I love that. That is one of the things as well, is as I was learning about you, your love of our Heavenly Father and your understanding of that personal relationship that you guys share is beautiful. It's a beautiful example of what being authentic and truly who you are, because that's one of the things I love about you. This hat that you're wearing and the feathers and just the way, just the way you are. You are who you are, and you don't apologize to anybody about it, and you invite other people to be who they are. And I love that. Did that come easy for you?
I was going to say, that's the 37-year-old Devin, but the 21-year-old, 25-year-old, 29-year-old, probably, 33-year-old, I fell in love with God because I hated God, and I had to come to terms with that. I fell in love with being me because I hated me. And so, again, I think people, especially in social media, they look at it and go, oh, you're so bright and shiny. Gosh, you just got it. And it's like, yeah, because I've lost it.
Right.
Yeah, because I had an eating disorder, because I had a baby really young and missed, so much time with my young mother that I watched suffer and take her last breath. It's like, it's not all bright and shiny, but I choose for it to be because I know the alternative way too well.
I love that. I love that you share the brokenness, because I think that's one of the great things I love about being the age that I am, is that I have been broken. I have been shattered. I've had things that just have left me holding on for dear life to get through. But then once you do, the strength that you find, Shannon, you're the same way. We have been shattered.
Oh, yeah.
But who you come back as, and then once you do, it's like, you know what? This is me.
Right.
And it's okay.
Well, and what I've found is, especially once you have that relationship with Christ, that everything, and this is one of the sayings that we live by, everything in life happens for you, not to you.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And, I think now that I'm older, I look back at all of the adversity that has happened throughout my life, and I see how it's worked out for me. Mm-hmm. And I really look at adversity a little different now, because now I look at it as there's a lesson in this for me to learn.
You bet.
There's a lesson in this that once I master it, I can then help God. I can then be a voice for God. I can then speak out about it. And it sounds like you take that to heart and you live that.
Oh yeah, yeah, and to a fault sometimes, right? Like it
definitely.
when I'm seeking, you will find. So if I train myself to look for those adversity, then I become a fighter, and I don't want to live that way either. So it's such a balance, right, of being that warrior spirit, but also being at peace. And so, yeah, sounds like we're all very similar.
So how do you? Yes, I was looking at a lot of the books that you read, and I'm like, check.
Oh, John Gordon, one of my favorite.
Right?
Energy Bus.
So good.
What's the dog's one? The positive. You know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about, but it's not coming to me. It's like super small.
Yeah, we just
It's
talked
like,
about it last week.
yeah.
But anyway, John Gordon has amazing
he's-
books, and they're great for kids.
Yeah.
Great for kids. The Positive Dog. Hello.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah.
Those are they're my favorites, right? You take these big ideas and you make them super, super simple.
Yes.
Right.
That's a true teacher.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
and that's the funny thing is, everybody thinks that success is so complicated and it's so hard, and it's quite the opposite. It's take out all of that junk,
Right.
take out all of the convoluted stuff, and just focus on the simplicity of it, and that's where you find it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I think the hard is in when it starts to get uncomfortable, seeing it through. To me, that's the hard of success. Like you said, it's removing all the junk and then just seeing it all the way through.
Yeah.
So with speaking about books, because we love to read, I can tell you love to read, what have been some of your biggest game changer books?
So The Prophet is my favorite. I mean, without a doubt, right? I read it. Well, I pick it up whenever I know that I need it, but I read it at a minimum each quarter. It's so short, and it just breaks down different concepts. That one just opens my eyes every single time. Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. I would say one of my generational curses is not being super great at receiving or feeling worthy, or my money mindset. And that book, my husband and I have stripped down together. And then currently, The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari.
I love The Monk Who
She
Sold His
keeps
Ferrari.
talking. I have not
just-
read
Great.
this one.
I have bought 10 copies. I got it.
Yes.
I'm book clubbing it with my staff at my office, but also at home with my husband and my 15-year-old, almost 16-year-old. Because I told him, and I wrote, that's my favorite thing to give is books, but to him, and just said, man, I can actually imagine life having tools like this early. So please just take a moment to fall in love with this book. It's so good.
Have you read The Untethered Soul?
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that amazing?
So-
That's kind of like The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. It's got the same.
Yes.
It just makes you think and
Yes.
go deep.
Yes.
And wonder if you'd had it 10 years, 20 years earlier, how different things could be.
And you can see how it played out, right?
Yeah.
Like when you zoom into that airplane and you go, oh, well, yeah, that's how that played out. And now how do I choose to go forward? They're so good.
Right.
So now that you have an idea of what Dr. Devin is and her personality, we're going to take a short break for a word from our sponsors. And when we come back, we're going to talk about her purpose in life, her vision, and what's next. You're listening to Jump, Pivot, and Roll. We'll be back in just a moment.
The Jump, Pivot, and Roll podcast is brought to you in part by the Shannon Styles Allstate Insurance Agency. Just as you take that next step in life, you need to take that next step in protecting yourself, your car, your home, and your family. Reach out to Shannon at 316-773-9864 or shoot her an email at sstyles@allstate.com. Also by Simplify My Life ICT. Is your life cluttered? Do you need help with organization? Rachel Murphy can help. Check out Rachel's services online at simplifymylifeict.com or reach out to Rachel at simplifymylifeict@gmail.com. To keep up with the Jump, Pivot, and Roll podcast, make sure to follow them on their Facebook page. Just go to facebook.com/Jump, Pivot, and Roll. There you can find content, podcasts of the show, discussions with Rachel and Shannon, and more. Plus, make sure to subscribe to the podcast on any of your favorite podcasting sites, from iTunes and Spotify, Google Play to TuneIn, and right on their Podbean site at jumppivotandroll.podbean.com. And for all the exclusive content, make sure to become a VIP member on their Patreon site. Just go to patreon.com/Jump, Pivot, and Roll.
And welcome back to Jump, Pivot, and Roll. I'm Shannon Styles.
And I'm Rachel Murphy. And with us today is Dr. Devin, our special guest. Welcome, welcome.
Good to be here. Having so much fun.
Well, it's great to have you here, and we love your energy. We love your, it seems like when you get with like-minded individuals, it seems like the world is right.
Right. Yes.
And that's what I feel like right now.
Yes.
Can you tell us, you went to college, you started having babies, had 2 sets of twins, right? Mm-hmm. Ended up having your practice with your husband, started a new practice, but somewhere along the way, you also took another turn, and you added more to your page, and it's kind of defining your purpose now. Yeah. You want to share that with us?
Yeah. The good Lord, he gave me a big heart and a bigger mouth. So it's, again, like we've kind of jumped in and talked about kids and talked about the things that I went through with my mom. And then in practice, what started to happen was these one-on-one interactions. I was like, gosh, the problems and the solutions aren't different. They're all the same. And I just wish more people could know that they're, that there's simple solutions here. And a friend of mine asked me to speak in 2013 or 14, asked me to come speak at his event and share that because it was just aching. I'm like, why don't people get it? And it was like turning from like an impatience to a rage of like, oh my gosh, the world has got to know this. And he's like, let's take that dynamite and let's put it on a stage. And that was in Oklahoma City. It was Focus, OKC. And I got up there and I was nervous until I started talking. And then it was like something took over. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is why I'm here. And it's like one of those moments that you go, oh, wow, I thought I knew why I was here, but I had no idea. Now what? Where would you have me go? What would you have me do? And so over the last few years, I've been invited to speak at all different events across the country and in London. And that opportunity to sit with an audience, like you just said, being in a room of like-minded, like-hearted energy, it's electric. And you can feel this compounded good vibe turn into, just this electric energy. It's contagious and it's addicting. And so, that I started traveling a lot, and I have 5 kids, so that became problematic. And so I came home after one of the seminars in 2 years ago. We had our first big idea, but I had come home to my husband and said, I can't go out to the world and hear these Tony Robbins and hear all these amazing speakers and then come home and not bring it to my people. So let's have an event. And he was like, oh gosh, here she goes again. Like she's always up to something. And he'll ask me from time, is it ever going to be enough? And I'm gratefully unsatisfied,
right. I love that.
It's like, it probably not while I'm here, and so we brought a collection of speakers. We put up a tent at our home and had, one of the most wild rides of our life 2 years ago, almost today, actually. We're just going to do it one time, brought all these really great speakers, and then we started getting the feedback and people saying, it changed my life. You saved my life. You put my marriage back together. My life is back on track. More people need to hear it. So then we had another one last year. And, and so it's relentless calling to serve more and do more and share more of that light and fine tuning what's sustainable in this season of life. And so, now it's just like, okay, how can I, and it's COVID, right? Right. So the events go away, and I have a love-hate relationship with Zoom, where I'm so grateful for technology that we can stay, quote unquote, connected. But I'm also irritated that we call that connection.
Yeah, I agree 100% because I love Tony Robbins events, had an intervention with him last year. But he's doing events online. Yeah. And it's not the same. It's not the same. When you're there, we need that connection. We need that personal touch, especially when you're touching somebody's heart. Yeah. And you're going in deep into their soul. Yeah. You have to have that. Yeah. Yeah. So I agree with you about Zoom. We do the best that we can right now, but ideally we'll get back to being together very soon.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's hard to give free hugs like your shirt says when you're on Zoom. There's just something about that touch and that physical connection that is healing and passing that energy from one person to another.
Yeah. So when you speak, what is your favorite message that you like to get out?
So my mom loved butterflies. And they're everywhere in my life. But metamorphosis, right? It's all about transformation and being one thing and transforming supernaturally into something else and getting to, like we've talked about in different ways already, just shedding that old skin and letting go, like Tony would say, of limiting thoughts and behaviors and forgiveness and shame are big things I usually jump into, especially with women. Girl power. I'm a big girl power girl. So I love speaking to the women, and in the same note, trying to do that in a feminine way that doesn't. I've got 4 sons, so I don't want to match this masculine push with the same energy that just it just causes the same problem in a different direction. And
I like to say that we need our men as much as they need us. It's together that the power becomes something that can change the world. We don't have to diminish one in order for the other to stand strong, because it's strong all on its own.
Yeah.
Well, and let's face it, women can be masculine, but we don't want our men being feminine.
Yeah.
Because God's put in our hearts, we have this special touch with our kids. He made us very, very extraordinary. And we don't want to give that privilege away.
Well, and like you mentioned being at Tony events, that was, I did Date with Destiny first. And when he talks about the masculine and the feminine and how girls are raised to be tough and, and there is that, we can be masculine. It's when we drive with our masculine that we throw ourselves out of our own nature, which puts us really at war with ourselves, and vice versa, where it's like, for my husband and I to complement each other in our relationship, I need to be in my feminine. Now, when I'm in my practice and in a form of leadership, then yes, I can use that masculine for good. But, that's been a fun journey of understanding in and of itself.
Yeah.
And there's a lot, I can only imagine that as you've gone through your journey, there's been a lot of learning, opportunity. Thank you. Yeah, I just went blank. It's like, what am I saying? A lot of learning opportunity when it comes to that and how to balance that. I think the key to life is balance.
Yeah.
100%.
That's probably the top question I get. I'll go to different chiropractic schools and, the chiropractors to be and all the women. And number one question, hands down, anywhere I've ever been is, my gosh, how do you balance it? Like, you've got 5 kids, you've got business, you've got these things. How do you balance it? Answer, I don't. I forgive myself for letting the ball drop. And for me, last year, I pick a word for the year, and last year's word really changed the game for me. I chose harmony, where it was like, I want all the colors of the rainbow, and I'm okay that sometimes it's out of balance because I want the different notes to complement each other. And so balance and harmony look and feel different now that I've let go of what I thought that word meant.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
And so I think of Poppy from Trolls when she's like, harmony, and it just instantly does that. It makes me, okay, get back to it. It's like, I know that
changes your state.
Yeah. And when I'm right here with you guys, that means I'm not with my kids. So it's impossible for that to be balanced because I can't be in 2 places at once. But when I'm with them in an hour or so from now, I'll be totally with them. And learning to navigate that, I think, allows for harmony and balance to be easier.
Absolutely. You allow yourself to be in the moment. And I think that's where you get the balance, is when you're able to give yourself to that experience, that moment, that time. And it doesn't always mean it's 100%. You do what you can.
I have a mentor that says, be where your feet are.
Yes.
And that makes it as simple as possible, right?
Who's your mentor?
Well, I have several. I have Ed Milet, Tony Robbins, Craig Wiggins is in Alabama.
Yeah.
I
so many. Yes.
have a lot.
That's good. You've got a good, strong tribal council. One of my good girlfriends, Dr. Denisa Weber, that's like all over her home. Be where your feet are. It's her staple. So I love hearing that because it's everything.
And I have different mentors for different areas of my life. Dr. Mike Leary is a huge influence on me. He's local, and so it depends on what you're talking about.
No, I love that. Yeah,
what
you
you're
need it.
going through.
Well,
Yeah.
because here's the thing I love about having mentors is that we don't have to recreate the wheel.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody goes through somewhat of the same, yes, they're different circumstances, but we go through the same types of adversities at some point throughout life. And if I have to figure out all of those, I'm not going to be able to do the fast forward in enough time to get to living out my purpose.
Right.
Right.
So that's why I love mentors.
Yeah. One of my favorites is Vishen with Mind Valley. Do you do anything with Mind Valley?
I don't, but I've heard. I know you're.
Oh my goodness, girl! I've got to
gonna
get you
have
hooked
to-
up.
I
So, I mean, I think it's so great that we're sharing with the listeners here just your journey and how you literally did jump pivot, now how you're rolling forward with that. So, what's next? Because you're doing so much, but you're not done. You're just getting started.
Yeah.
So, what's next?
Yeah. Well, I'm homeschooling now. We're
Love it.
unschooling.
Now we have that teacher hat on.
Right. Literally. Yeah. I mean, COVID has gifted me so many things, and that's one of those things. And so we're taking the unschooling approach, which is, I think, more unwinding my own attachments more than my kids. They're having a blast and they get more mom time than ever. So there's that. But because there's that, coming up with a way to take the voice and the drive. So I'm working on a couple of books that
Excellent.
should be.
Yes.
So I'm pretty excited about that. And then I, in that prayer meditation morning walk a few months ago, where would you have me go? Just open the door and I'll walk through it. Just show, where do we go from here? How can I best serve? And, like you, I've had people say, you should start a podcast. And then a friend of my staff's husband actually was like, hey, I've got all this stuff. I'm not using it. I really think you need to get it up and going. And he came over with a couple $1,000s worth of equipment and said, hook it up, go girl. And it's like, okay, God, I got it. Thanks. Thanks. And so we just finished the Freedom Revival. Took a lot of my heart and soul over the last 30 days because we put it together in 3 weeks. But that was a huge event. Now that I'm coming down off of that, I'm interviewing some of those guests that we had and getting ready to launch a podcast.
I am so excited. I will be a subscriber listening. Are you doing weekly or have you kind of figured that out yet?
Yeah, I'm still learning. There's so much to learn.
We
There's
have
a
a
lot
great
to learn.
producer for you.
She
I'll
said the
introduce you
same
as soon
thing.
as
Yes.
we're done.
Yes.
Already done.
Yeah.
So it's called If They Knew, because I feel like no matter what seminar I've ever been to, inevitably someone says, if they knew what we knew, they would do what we do. And so I just want to start collecting those stories, sitting down with some of my favorite people. So once a week, I'll put down a conversation. And then once a week, probably just little tidbits of my own story and tools and experiences with the unschooling. So a couple episodes a week is my goal. And then whatever, my practice inspires me on top of that. We went through a rebrand earlier this year. So I'm also really fine tuning the way I want to show up for my community. And I'm sure that will feed into the podcast as well.
Okay, so next question. When do you sleep?
Yeah, I sleep fast. Yeah.
You can do that when you retire.
The 5 a.m. Club, have you read that?
I've not read the 5 a.m.
Okay,
club.
so
Do you get
it's-
up at
it's-
5?
No, I do
Okay.
not. I do not, but the concepts are the same.
Right,
right.
But Robin Sharma, the monk who sold his Ferrari, same author, 5 a.m. Club. It is amazing. I took that one to heart and just really giving yourself an hour. But if you're going to be a 5 or 6 a.m. wake, you've got to go to bed early. Well, I was always a night owl as a single mom. That was my time. So I really only need, I shoot for 5 or 6 hours of sleep. Any more than that, and I'm groggy. Any less than that, I'm a bear. So,
Well, and you make a great point because this is something that Rachel struggles with is the 5 a.m. You don't have to get up at 5 a.m.
right.
That's not the idea. The idea is sleeping less.
Right.
Right.
Well, and the routine of
The
morning.
routine of the
Right.
morning.
Yeah.
And that I really
And getting more, getting more
when
time.
Shannon says I really struggle with it, I was like on it, girl.
Yeah.
I was
All in.
84 days every morning, 5 a.m., meditation, exercise, reading. I mean, doing all the things that said this first hour and a half belongs to me. And then I can give my best to others. And my stupid phone stopped working and I missed the 85th day. And it really defeated me because I had a lot of people watching and, they were following the journey. And I'm like, I failed everybody. I let them down. And so
instead of allowing yourself some grace and forgiving
I talk about
and moving on
a lot, and I find it so much easier to give other people grace than to give myself. And I talk about it all the time with clients on the podcast and Facebook. Give yourself grace. It's okay. And then I'm like,
funny.
But not me.
Right. Yeah. Well, and what a gift you gave them and yourself to have one of those imperfect days, right? And 75 hard. Are you guys familiar with that?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I was
Andy?
43 days in and got sick and fell asleep. And
Are you Arate?
What's that?
Are you Arate?
Oh, I don't know what's.
No.
Arate is it's a membership with Ed Milet and Andy Purcell.
Oh, I might need to look that up because I love both
to
of
me.
them.
I'm Arate.
Maybe that's what brought that special blessing of coming here today. But that morning routine, especially with 5 kids, like I have to give myself grace, or and we're women, and I think that's something that a lot of these mentors that we've talked about and referenced are men, and I love them.
Yes.
I do
You
love
need
them.
the women.
But they are so linear and one track, and it's why they're brilliant, because they thrive that way. We're cyclical beings. So even within your cycle, I don't know that I completely agree that you should apply those principles every single day the same way on a cycle, because you'll crash and burn.
And that's what happens to me. And that's what Shannon has said. So maybe what you need to do is, like, because it seems to be 45 or 80, you just need to take a break. And so, I'm trying to figure that out again. And I think that book you just shared is going to be coming home with me today. And
study the moon. I kind of wonder, just based on what you're saying, if it is something related to your cycle where we're so tied to Mother Nature. I did a full moon circle with my sister last night. We did yoga and meditation and acupuncture, and we did a little burning bowl release with a group of women. Anyway,
okay, right. I want on that list the next one. I want to be there.
And it was this return to the feminine and this grounding back to nature, and so those principles do apply in the world we live in. But when you look at nature, fall, spring, summer, we follow a rhythm. If your body tells you to sleep, I'm begging everybody out there to give yourself grace. There's a difference between lazy and listening to your intuition.
Yeah,
so
I like
that's
maybe
a
it's
great
governing
point.
that.
That's a great
good.
point.
Yes.
What else? What do you find working with people the most that people don't do to care for themselves?
Yeah.
Is there something in particular?
Of course, I'm a chiropractor, and I wish more people got adjusted.
Well, let's talk about that for a minute, because being adjusted, it changes everything.
Yeah. And it's meant different things for me along my own journey. So, like I said, I didn't get my first adjustment until I was a month into school. So, I was down the rabbit hole and I didn't even know what I was in for. And in the beginning, it was very structural. It was very neck pain, back pain. They would ask me when I would go into the clinic, how do you feel? What's wrong? And I had headaches my whole life, and I just thought that was normal. Well, they got rid of my headaches. And then, then we started to, it became about something more. And my son, who I referenced earlier, had a really rough forceps birth, didn't sleep, wasn't thriving. And then I fell in love with pediatric chiropractic. Then it began to show me what chiropractic really was. And it was really about optimizing the nervous system and finding areas where we have dis-ease, or where there's misalignments in the spine, where we can relieve pressure on the nervous system and return the system to ease. We are designed to thrive. There is this power inside of us. The body does know how to heal itself. We've all cut our finger and seen it heal itself. That's constantly happening for us. And so my highest hope for humanity in that regard would be that they would take the time to be checked and adjusted if necessary, and optimize that nervous system and get in tune again with the fact that you are powerful beyond measure, because it's as much the chiropractic philosophy that has changed my life more. The chiropractic philosophy has changed my life more than the adjustment.
Wow.
Yeah. Do you study kinesiology?
I do. I'm getting more and more actually into it, and that's what I was going to say to your original question about what I wish people did for themselves. Or what I'm seeing now, there's this emotional connection, and it's so much more than meets the surface. And so, we look at the way we do medicine and healthcare. We're oh my gosh. I mean, we're babies, really. Yes. I mean, it's like, it's so surface. It's symptom, fix, take this, do that. Versus when I look at traditional Chinese medicine and studying acupuncture or something like kinesiology, it's so big and so complex and beautiful, and just, it's a whole different way to see health. That's where I wish we would return.
Yeah, and that's where the holistic mindset comes in, because you start seeing how dangerous the foods we eat are for you. Man. And that could be a totally another podcast.
Right?
Oh, I know. You are coming back. You are definitely coming back.
And people always ask, they're like, what's the one thing? There isn't one thing, right? It is all of it. It's the way you think. It's what you put in your mind. It's what you put in your body. It's all of it. But I would say right now, currently, what I'm seeing on people that is maybe tough for a lot of them to, because I don't know that a lot of them have heard it, is just how we lock emotion in our body.
Yeah.
So, in a time like this where there's no timeout, right? We don't get to,
right.
I mean, my moms are wearing the weight of the last 6 months big time. And my fear is not what's happening now, but where this will land us 3 or 5 years from now, when we don't take the time that we need to address the anger, to address the fear, to address the sadness, because we just keep going. We don't stop. And that makes me very nervous, because I know the long-term wear and tear of negative emotion.
So every week, Rachel likes to make a challenge for our listeners, and we'd like you to challenge our listeners to something. It can be anything, whatever you think would be something that would be very impactful on their life and help them to elevate them.
Yeah.
All right. So, looking out the window at this beautiful tree. And so it'll have 2 parts, yin and yang. Step 1, make time to go in. Make time to get really quiet, whether that's prayer or meditation or silence, or a nap. Make time to go in and get quiet and listen to your heart and steady your mind. Make time each day. 10 minutes. You can do 10 minutes of slow down, inward thought, reflection, write it down, find whatever going in means to you. And then step 2 is go out without your phone. Go out in nature. It'll be even better if it's cold. It'll be even better if it's raining. And go for a walk and look up at the sun and see how many things you notice that you'll realize on a day-to-day basis you forget, that you don't see the birds and the squirrels and the rabbits and the rocks, and pick some flowers. Go outside and feel the elements on you. And I think that alone, going in and going out, will restore harmony to your system.
How can people find you?
DevinVrana.com has kind of all the different links to practice, and soon the podcast.
We so thank you for taking time out of your very busy life, very busy schedule to share with our listeners. Guys, I told Shannon before Dr. Devin came in, this is going to be our best podcast. I truly feel that you guys got gold today. Please take that challenge, because I could not have done any better. And find her, follow her, listen to her podcast, because I'll be there. You need to be there. And just thank you so much for taking the time to listen. And Dr. Devin, thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here today.
Very grateful for you. Thank you. We appreciate it. You know, life doesn't always come with directions. Sometimes you have to jump, pivot, and roll. If you enjoyed today's podcast, please like and share it out. You don't know who's out there that needs to hear what Dr. Devin had to say. Until next time, have a great week.
Thanks, everybody.